This is a Spur On podcast. I'm Matt.
I'm Jack.
And sometimes Cooper.
As we have conversations with people in the Western culture, from NFL champions to custom bootmakers, and everything in between, we are in pursuit of two things: how they got the way they are in their careers,
and their walk with Jesus.
So we hope as you listen, you're encouraged, you're entertained, you're inspired, but mostly you're spurred on.
All right, man, guys, welcome back to Spur On. Man, have the fortunate pleasure today to talk to Tyler Waguespack. Man, he's been here in Central Alabama putting on a steer wrestling clinic with Tyler Pearson and Kyle Irwin, and, man, we've had a great weekend. And just like always, guys, man, we want to talk to Tyler just about his life and how he got started and in hopes of encouraging some of you kids and guys that are trying to go, man, where Tyler came from and how he got to where he's at and his career right now and where he's at. And if you know anything about steer wrestling, the PRCA, Tyler's definitely on the top of the game right now. And so, man, we are so excited to talk to Tyler. But Tyler, if you don't mind, I'd just like for you to just kind of tell us how it all started for you, man. Where did you start as a kid? Did you junior rodeo, high school rodeo, college rodeo? What did that look like for you?
Man, whenever I was a little kid, I was always a little dirty kid in the practice pen whenever Dad and all his buddies and stuff was going up and down the road and going to circuit rodeos and everything and all the amateur circuit around the house. Dad always had 4 or 5 guys that was just with him all the time whenever they get in from work in the afternoons and stuff. They're always putting in the effort, practicing, trying to get better and all that kinds of stuff. And, I mean, he went to some pro rodeos that were local pro rodeos like Jackson, Mississippi and Lafayette, Louisiana, stuff like that, where they had big-name guys there. And me being a little kid, I didn't know no better that he wasn't one of the big-name guys out on the road, you know? I mean, I was always the one jumping up on the fence, pulling for him because that's who my hero was, wanting to win. And, I mean, going as I got older and stuff like that, I finally got big enough to where I could start doing stuff with them. I was always a little bitty guy. Dad took the time, got some little bitty steers, kind of like the shoe dog and steer size that we had here today, and got started from there and just teaching me all the fundamentals and all that kinds of stuff. And like I said, growing up, he was the guy I always looked up to, so that's who I wanted to listen to. And me and him stayed in that practice pen and got after it. And he used to always tell me, you know, he said, if you work harder than the man next to you, you can beat him. So I put that mentality into just about everything that I try to do. If there's somebody out there working harder than me, I'm going to buckle down and do whatever I can to do to be on the next level to beat that person. So it stuck with me. And, I mean, thankfully he was there to push me along to get me here.
I think that's cool too, man. And I tell Jack all the time, I don't care if it's football or baseball or, man, talent will take you to a certain level, but at the end of the day, hard work will always be talent when talent's not working.
I spoke to the kids here at the clinic today and stuff, and I don't like to, you know, bring it back to something that's not steer wrestling. I mean, they're coming here to learn about steer wrestling and stuff like that, but I'd like for them to put it into any aspect of their life. And I brought it up, you know, I said, schoolwork, you know, your job whenever you get older, stuff like that. To have success is putting in the time and effort and hard work into it. You know, the more you want to push yourself to do better, the further along you can go. People a lot of times can just get satisfied with saying, okay, I'm doing a pretty good job. I think it's all right. I think I'm comfortable, and they get set in that mindset. You did a great deal at the sermon this morning talking about guys in their faith, you know, when people are getting comfortable saying, yep, I'm doing enough. Well, you know, we can always step up and put ourselves higher and higher and higher, and the more we push ourselves to do better in anything we do, I think that's going to drive us to do better at whatever our goals are.
I agree. So let me ask you this, because there again, having 2 boys, man, and both of them growing up in their open pen, and there again, we didn't practice or go near as much as you guys did, but just goofing off. But man, for Jack, it took years. I mean, he would come to the open pen and I couldn't melt him and pour him on a horse. And then one day at 10 or 12, he's just like, hey, I want to do it now. You know, when we're Cooper, I'm pretty sure he came out jingling because I'm pretty sure he had a set of spurs on him inside of Mallory. You know, I mean, it's just one of those things he always wanted to do. Was that where you were, or were you get the guy? I mean, as a little kid, you said talk about playing in the dirt. Was that literally your deal?
Whenever I first started, man, Dad used to always pick on me because I was probably 10 years old before I ever actually rode a horse, you know. I was always a kid out there and real nervous whenever people was around horses and stuff like that, real timid. I mean, whenever I jumped my first steer, I bet I run by 30 steers. You know, I mean, we got kids today that rode by several steers, and I'm sitting there telling them, hey, you know, it's no big deal. You still got a long way to go. I got 4 gold buckles, and I still rode by more of them getting started than you have. And it's just about setting up everything and getting everything ready to get to where you can, to where you have the confidence in whatever you're doing. So, like you say, between your 2 boys, one of them's ready to go, just chomping at the bit, ready to do it, and one of them is sitting there saying, man, I just want to watch it and see what all's going on. That's not saying anything towards either one. Everybody's going to do things and have their goals set at their own time. I mean, I think you'll be surprised what a goal somebody has this time next year. You know, I mean, we went out to school this year. There was several children out there, or several young men out there that had a goal that they wanted to go out and jump their first steer. And they, as the deal went, they said, you know what, I'm not ready. And it takes a big man to sit back and watch your buddies go and say, I'm not ready. But I'm more proud of a guy to say, you know what, I think I can do this, and I think I can get myself ready for next year, as opposed to just saying, man, my buddies are doing it, that's why I want to do it. If you're doing it just because your buddies are doing it, just because mom and dad want you to do it, that's not a reason to go out and do something. You need to have the drive in yourself to push yourself to be where you want to be. You set your own goals. Like, it goes back to your schoolwork, your job, your work, your faith, everything. You set your goals. Whenever you get there and you reach your goal, you set another one higher, and you keep pushing yourself to do better. And like I say, I feel like in life, in your sport, in your job, in anything, in your family deal, everything is going to push you to do better. So whenever you reach the goal that you want, push yourself to make that next step higher.
I think that's what separates guys like you from the everyday guy, is the goal is never obtainable. You know what I mean? Like, you never reach where you want to finish. You know what I mean? And I think that's the definite deal. And I also think, talking about that, it's real easy to get it caught up in coming to a school or clinic like you guys put on and seeing guys and getting caught up in the comparison game. You know, I mean, you're not ready. You know what I mean? You're not ready. And I did hear one of the guys, one of the grown guys, I mean, there's kids way younger than him that were actually jumping steers and doing it pretty good today. And the comment that he made yesterday was, hey, I just came to learn the technique. I came to learn the fundamentals. Like, I'm good going home. I'm good coming and listening to you guys. I came to get instruction from you guys how to do it correctly. That doesn't mean that tomorrow is a finished product.
I'm more proud of the guys that openly admit that, instead of, like I say, just doing it just because their buddies are doing it, or just doing it. Like, if you set your goal for this week and you don't reach it, it takes a big man to say, hey, I didn't reach my goal, but I'm willing to work to get to that goal. Like I say, don't ever set a time frame on your goal. It should always be something that you can always work for and push to, and whenever you get to that goal, that's a great day. But that's also the same day that you set your next goal. If anybody ever stops growing, you're done. So you want to always continue to grow in whatever you're setting your mind to.
I agree 100%, 100%. So did you, I mean, going back to childhood, so did you have the opportunity to junior rodeo, or where did that start?
I did a lot of calf roping whenever I was junior rodeo.
I knew you were my kind of people.
I love calf roping. Even to this day, I love calf roping. I always, but again, whenever I first started calf roping, my buddies were calf roping. And like I say, I had a lot of good fun. I loved it. I wanted to get better. At the same time, whenever I was a real little boy, we had me and just one other of my buddies was bulllogging. I was having the success in the bulllogging. He was having the success in the calf roping. I stuck with the calf roping all through high school. He slowed down whenever we first started. And me and Dad went several years, we were by ourselves, but we never lost sight of our goal. We kept on going after it. And like I say, we're going to the junior rodeos. I remember I used to get my butt kicked in the calf roping. We'd go back, we'd practice 2 days a week calf roping, 2 days a week bulllogging. And one thing I like about my dad is even though we was having that success in the bulllogging, we would go back 2 days a week and, hey, we're going to push ourselves to do better in the calf roping. In the steer wrestling, hey, we did a great run. We made a run with very few mistakes, but there were some of them in there. Even though we're kicking butt against the kids or the young men that we're going against, we're always trying to set that bar higher and higher and higher. Even though there's not someone to push you, yourself should always be there to push you. So even though I was on 2 different levels in 2 different sports, like I say, we're still trying to work hard. I'm trying to catch up with the guys that are ahead of me in the calf roping, and I'm trying to set myself above the guys that are below me in the steer wrestling. So you're always working at your goals, trying to push yourself to do better. And like I say, my goal right now, just a little heads up for people listening to this, whenever I'm done rodeoing and done going professionally up and down the road, I've told my wife, my dad, everybody, I'd love to be done with my bulllogging and help a lot of young men in their careers with clinics and stuff like that. But I have a goal that I want to go out and make the Southeastern Circuit Finals in the calf roping. People are going to see Tyler Waguespack enter the rodeo and think, oh, man, we're going to watch this bulldogger, and they're going to see me with a rope and a picking string in my hand, because that's one of the goals I have for whenever I'm set up and done steer wrestling. You know, I feel like and like I say, I love the steer wrestling. I'm going to always do whatever I can to help grow the event and all that kind of stuff. But whenever it all slows down, I've got cool goals of my own. And like I say, I want to be able to tell myself that I can go back and get with it in the calf roping and put myself on a competitive level.
Well, to me, and that's why, and I think I told you this earlier, just to surround my boys with guys like you, if nothing else, just to help them understand that mindset and mentality, because I can talk it to them all day long, but to realize, hey, it's not just Dad. And there's so many things just based off what you just said that I wish we had 3 hours to talk about, because I know you guys got to come last year and getting to meet your dad and just seeing the relationship you have. And man, we could have a whole podcast on just what that looks like and how much of your success goes back to that, and the fact that there's so many fatherless homes right now and dads that are disconnected. And that's really my heart at the end of the day, because man, there's nothing these boys are going to do that I mean, it would take hell or high water to keep me away regardless. And Jack gets mad at me all the time because I'm like, man, if you want to play the piano, I'll go get my jean starts and I'll be sitting in the front row, and he's like, do you want me to play the piano? I'm like, no, but that's just the furthest thing from him, so, but I do. And maybe talk about that for just a second, how big of a factor your dad has played in all this.
My dad is by far my hero. I mean, he is the guy that has always been there for me. And I see a lot of parents out there, and I hope tons of them are listening to this. Just a story about my dad. I never knew that my dad, like I say earlier, I said in this, I never knew that my dad was not a world champion. I didn't know that he was not the greatest one ever. He never come out and said, hey, I'm this, I'm that, or what have you. But what my dad did do is whenever we would go to the practice pen, whether it was just our horsemanship in the box, whether it was our runs in the steer wrestling, whether it was flanking and tying calves, which, by the way, my dad knows nothing about tie-down rope, nothing at all. But what my dad would do is everything that we had to work on, we were a team working on it. You see a lot of parents go out there and they're, hey, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. My dad never did that. My dad was always coming out in the practice pen and said, hey, this is something we can work on today. Hey, we misstrung our calf in the practice at the rodeo this past weekend. Hey, let's get these calves up. We can work on stringing and flanking and tying. He's right there with me. And it's never a scolding push. It's always a pick-me-up push. My dad, I got to say, he'll never tell you the bad thing first. If you make a run and you're just totally out of whack and you hula flip the steer, man, you nodded good, you rode your horse right on up. And me as a kid, whenever my dad would give me that positive thing first and I feel that proudness coming from him, I'm open ears and he can fill me with whatever knowledge he got. You have people go out there and say, hey, you did this wrong. Well, you see a kid, they're going to drop their head down. They're going to be like, oh, man. And it can be the best knowledge in the world coming behind that. But if you knock them down to start, they don't have anything to build on. If you pick them up to start, and that's one thing my dad was always so wonderful about. And then whenever all the success that I started having and all that kind of stuff, he's the first guy that I want to go to and show any of the trinkets. He's the first guy that I call to tell what I did at the rodeo and stuff like that. And even to this day, if I have a run that is not successful, he'll always ask me, well, did you see the start that you wanted? Yes, sir. Did you ride your horse good? I feel like I did, yes. He said, did you, do such and such in your run? And I'll say, man, I felt like I did this. He said, well, hey, go back to that video a couple weeks ago in the practice pen where we were working on that. We can get that fixed, no problem. And he's 5 states away on the phone, and that's all you need is just that little pick-me-up. Yes, sir, you're right. We can work on that going down the road, And he was always that person that would always have that pick-me-up and that positive that it made it to where I enjoyed practicing. I enjoyed progressing myself in my sport because it was always like I had a team effort behind me. I never had anybody kicking me down. And it for a lot of parents out there and a lot of even not even parents, just friends that are out there trying to help somebody, always give them the positive first, and you can fill them with whatever you want because they will dang sure listen if you have them a pick me up to start off with.
Oh, I agree. I think that makes you be more receptive to, man, the positive. I mean, if you come at me and tell me what I'm doing good, man, my guard's down, my walls are down, and I'm way more ready to listen. And then I can accept whatever the negative stuff is, even when I'm not necessarily in a mentality to accept the negative stuff. So, man, that's awesome. And like I said, me and Jack were talking about earlier, man, just you and your dad, he sat down and eating lunch a minute ago and just talked to him a minute. And, I mean, I don't care what we're talking about, deer hunting or rodeo. He's just an awesome dude to be around.
He did say we were ruining his turkey hunting weekend to come down here, so.
Oh, yeah, Daddy, he loves his turkey hunting now.
I would say, too, and I told him, I said, hey, well, if we can pull this deal off next year, you'll have to come down a day early, and we'll try to get you on one of these Alabama birds. So
you don't promise him that. He'll show up here with his bag without me.
I got to have some kind of way to get you guys back. So if he's coming, then I'll have the rest of you. So junior high rodeo, high school rodeo, did you college rodeo?
I did not college rodeo. I had several offers to go to college. I had a lot of success whenever I was in high school. And I had tons of offers whenever I was coming into college and all that kinds of stuff. I'm not ashamed to say I am not a bookworm. I'm not talented at school. It was a struggle all through high school. I had to have tutors. I wasn't a kid that comprehended. I could work hard, try hard. I'm severely dyslexic. I can read you a book right now and not tell you a word about it. You read it to me and I can tell you it better than you just read it. It was the way I learned. And I mean, it come down to it where I've got opportunities to go to college and do all this kinds of stuff. And me and my dad was one. And no parent ever does this. They went to me and said, Tyler, I don't really like the odds of you going. I mean, we had full rights, but he said, I don't see that being a 4 years of success. So I went off and learned a trade. I learned to shoe horses. I went to horseshoeing school in Oklahoma. It was a hands-on deal. I was able to, and it was something I enjoy. I love being around horses. The first 2 years out of high school, I was making great money. I was going to amateur rodeos, a couple of the small circuit rodeos, and shoeing horses during the week. And I had a pocket full of money every day having a lot of luck, a lot of success out there with it. Got good clients, good horses to shoe. Everything's kind of rolling my way. And there was a deal out in San Angelo, Texas, big pro rodeo that they have. Dad and I went out there. Dad was hazing for me. Whoever wins the bulldog or whoever wins the average in their event at the San Angelo Stock Show and Rodeo gets a ticket into Rodeo Houston. Well, I wound up winning second that year. Lucky for me, Trevor Knowles won it that year, and he was already in. So here I am, young kid, me and Dad pull up to the NRG Stadium where the Houston Texans play, and we're at this humongous rodeo. Well, it's a 3-week-long deal. I work my way all the way through all the brackets, keep having success. I make it all the way down to the Final Four. I wound up winning fourth at Rodeo Houston, but it's huge money at that time for me. We drive back to the house next morning. It's a Monday morning. I wake up. Dad wakes up, and we're still living in the same house, and I'm fixing me breakfast and all that kind of stuff. It's about 7:30. Daddy said, man, you normally leave by this time to go start shoeing horses. I said, yes, sir. I said, I went on ahead and canceled all of my appointments. I said, I'm entered up in the next 2 weeks worth of rodeo, so we're going to see how that goes. Like I said, it's the first time I ever had a pocket full of money. We're going to try it on. And I haven't quit rodeoing since.
Man, that is awesome. So that deal was pretty much the American before the American was the American.
Rodeo Houston was everybody's biggest ticket every year. Everybody had tons of eggs in that basket. Fortunate enough for me, got extremely lucky, extremely blessed, drew the right steers. Dad and I, like I say, he and I neither one of us ever been on a stage that big. And at the end of the day, whenever the smoke settled, we're right there at the top of the pack. I mean, it was an amazing experience, and I'm proud of it that Dad and I was both there together.
So you ended up filling your permit that year, and did you get your card that same year?
I had filled my permit the prior year going to the circuit rodeos and everything, but that was the first year that I actually went rodeoing hard. I had a successful winter and had that going on. I missed making the finals that year by probably about $10,000, which sounds like a big number, but in our world, that's kind of tight there toward the end of the year.
That could be one rodeo.
It could.
Very dependent on the rodeo, right?
Mm-hmm.
What year was that?
That was 2012.
And you were 20? Is that right?
2012, I was 21.
Oh, man, that is every 21-year-old's dream. Pocket full of money and success. Man, well, I would say this, Tyler. You've been one of those guys that I just look at, and I'm not saying this because you're right here, but you're one of those guys that I wish that I could be around more just because of who you are. And it has nothing to do with your gold buckles, and I'm not trying to take away from that. But I do think it's pretty cool that, man, you have had the success that you've had. And that's something, if you got just a second, I would love to hear more about, man, coming off the NFR this year and winning that deal and being the world champion for 2022. Man, what does that look like? That's your third one, is that correct?
That was my fourth one. That's fourth one.
God, man, I'm off. Sorry about that.
That's good.
No. So what other 3 years did you win?
I won the world in 2016, 18, 21, and 22.
21 and 2, well, back to back. Well, that makes this conversation need deeper because that was my bad. I was
2 back-to-backs.
That's right. So 21 and 22. How hard was it to start off 2022 just coming off that win?
Just coming off that win, I find it to be great. I love momentum. I love having confidence. And that's one thing I've been blessed with is ever since I started having success in here, I've always been able to hold my confidence. And not necessarily the confidence in competing, but the confidence that I know that I have the capability of going back and fixing a problem that I have, as far as if I'm starting to create a bad habit or something like that. I trust just exactly everything that we taught all the young men this weekend, going back to the basics. I'm really, really good at just pressing pause, going back to the basics, getting everything fixed, and taking off again. I find that I'm fortunate that I don't really stay stuck in slumps because I'm going to take myself out of the game, go fix all whatever I got going on, and then jump right back in and never miss a beat.
And I think, to me, that even goes back to something you said, because I don't know, it's a struggle. Maybe I just think about it wrong or look at it wrong, but I think when I think about success, I think it's usually those intelligent people, and this is screwed up too, but in my mind, the intelligent people are the scholastic learners, and I would agree with you. Me and you are paddling the same boat. I hated school, but if you let me put my hands on it.
Well, I'm currently paddling the same boat.
Well, I'm sorry. It's hard to overcome genetics. That's all I can tell you. But, man, it's easy to put your hands on, but, man, I kind of lost my train of thought there. You threw me off and making me realize I was screwing you up. But, no, but staying where you are, and I know what I was going to say is, man, I think about those intelligent people that are book smart or whatever, and those are the ones that have the mental capacity to overcome. But, man, just to hear you say that, I hope there's kids that end up listening to this that find themselves in that same spot, like, hey, I can still overcome this. And people say this about things like golf and stuff like that it's 90% mental and the rest of it's just in your head. You know, and just looking out here, we can form technique, everything, but you could be the greatest steer wrestler, the greatest golfer, the greatest NFL kicker. But if you can't keep it between your ears, slow and controlled, then it's all worthless.
The best athletes in the world get beat every day by somebody that slows down and pays attention. And like I say, you don't have to be a bookworm to be able somebody to slow down and pay attention and trust the process. I mean, so many guys go out there. If you ever watch Major League Baseball players, I always go back to that. There's no Major League Baseball player that woke up one morning and could throw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. Every one of them started at throwing pitch and catch in the backyard, and they slowly built their craft, and they kept everything on pace, building their way up, you know. So a guy that can slow down and say, hey, I need to start at stage number 1 and work my way all the way up to stage 10, he's going to have a lot more success as guys that want to sit out there and start jumping spots. So, I mean, everybody you have to do everything at your own pace, but whenever you start somewhere, back to having that goal, work your way all the way up to that goal.
So coming off of 2021, win the NFR World Champion, have a good year, obviously 2022. What were you ranked coming into the 2022 NFR?
I was ranked second.
Second.
Yes, sir.
Second. So, and then come and have a great NFR, win that deal. And that's what I was telling you a minute ago too. It was, man, it amazes me to see and to be able to watch the American this year and to see that focus. And we didn't get to have this conversation, but man, knowing where you're at and how you think and how you process things, being miles away watching it on TV, I could see that. Everything you just described to me in your face when you nodded that last time. And to me, that's the goal. That's to be able to get to the top and then stay on the top. And man, I got to tip my hat to you. And man, I don't, like you said, I think you've pretty much defined it is how do you do that? And a lot of times to stay on top means going back just a little bit to critiquing the small things, but being able to go back and process that and slow everything down. And man, I know that's got to be hard. As hard as you guys go, especially during the summertime, man, going, and coming up with a miss and being able to slow down in 3 hours because you just have to ride again.
You got to trust the road that got you there because somebody else is right behind you on that same road ready to pass you at any time. So like I say, you can't just jump off of that track that you're on. Sometimes you got to take a step back on the one that you're on, but you need to stay consistent on the one that you're headed to.
What does it look like for you guys to practice? I mean, is there any practice during the summer run, or is the rodeo the practice?
No, I've got several places staked out. We go practice a lot in Altamont, Utah. Got a buddy of mine that travels with us. His family lives there. We keep steers up there and stuff. So whenever we're traveling through, we swing in, make some practice runs. Maybe we're just tuning on a horse just to get him back working right because it's a big toll on those horses out there. I mean, they're traveling all over, and if they don't get to see a practice pen, they're just seeing the lights every day. I mean, they can get amped up and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of days where we just got to pull them off to the side, kick them out, let them have a day or two off, leg them up and exercise them, and just score steers on them just to keep them nice and calm. Because I mean, if they're not prepared to compete well, we're not prepared to compete well. We've got Altamont, Utah. We've got Meade, Colorado. We've got a good place to go. Kyle Irwin's house, Tyler Pearson's house, my house. We've got buddies staked out everywhere that we can go pull in, work horses, do some practice runs and everything. And every time we do that, going to practice pens, it's not going to practice that 3-second run like you see on TV. Every time we go to the practice pen, we're going back to the basics. We're going back to throwing that ball, pitch and catch. And then whenever we get to the rodeo, then we're ready to throw it 90 miles an hour.
Right. Well, let me ask you this, and I know as far as the roping side, it happens a lot more, but on the steer wrestling side, I mean, how many times do you go back to the dummy?
Tons. Buddy of mine, Jacob Talley, was at the house this past week. We jumped the stable dummy 3 days this past week. I say it's not just running live cattle. It's all the different drills that we do out here. And a lot of guys think that we just go to the practice pen, we just go full-fledged off a horse, make our runs, and we're good to go. And it's not like that. We put forth the effort into, especially if we're having a little bit of a problem in our runs. all these dummies and drills and stuff that we do, each one of them is there to fix a problem in your runs. So especially if we're having some problem, we're harping on that drill to be able to get it worked out and get everything leveled back out. But yeah, jumping the dummy, sliding the stick, sliding the dummy, the round pin like we do with the younger kids. Like I say, I've got 4 gold buckles, but I'm not ashamed to go put a steer in the round pin, slow everything down to get all of my muscle memory and fine-tuned and ready to go.
And like I said, I haven't been around the steer wrestling a ton, but the roping world, it seems like, man, once you get to a place where you can rope live cattle, it's almost like it's beneath you to rope the dummy. And, and I see that mentality. And I'll be honest with you, I had that mentality for years. Like, well, I'm good enough to rope live cows now. Why do I need to waste my time? But the more of you guys that I listen to, the more that tracking the dummy around, not just working on your horse, but working on yourself. And so that to me, that's huge. That the kids that I hope are listening to this are like, man, hey, if Tyler's Waguespack is still working on the dummy, then it's not beneath me to get out there on the dummy.
What I enjoy watching during the national finals, there's a big parking lot where all the timed event guys got all their horses at, big stalls and stuff. They got, which the Thomas and Mack over there in Rodeo, Las Vegas, they take care of us awesome. But one of the fun things to do while you're over there is you actually get to watch the 15 best headers in the world with a steer head on a bale of hay, and they will rope this thing until that thing is nothing but the strings every single night. You got the 15 best headers in the world going back and back around, and they are slicking this dummy every time. It just looks so easy, but they have muscle memory down so that whenever they get in that building, they're ready to go. And these are the guys that are unbelievable professionals. I mean, that is their job, is to catch those horns nice and tight, have everything nice and smooth. And like I say, you'll see these great ropers out there doing this over and over and over again. And every night, it's not just, oh, they won the round last night, so now they're over there just having fun, laying around or nothing like that. The very next night, they're right back at it, all in a row, roping that dummy.
Right.
What horse is Wag won? I heard Kyle talking about him. Or
What horse is what?
Wag won or something like that.
Oh, well, I'm not sure.
I thought I heard him say something about a good horse y'all had.
No, we used to have Pearson and Irwin used to own Scooter. That was the Sorrel Baldface horse I won the world on in 2018, and that was, probably the best horse we ever had. Tyler Pearson and Kyle Irwin, they do a great job with their horses, take care of them unbelievably well, and Scooter was so user-friendly for anybody to get on. He was a horse that was helping us make our runs and probably knew the start at every rodeo better than we did whenever we got there. So, he was an unbelievable animal, and hats off to those two guys because they did whatever it takes to make sure that horse felt amazing and was at the top of his game everywhere we went.
Do you still shoot your own horses, or?
No, man, I've been having a lot of success in the bulldog, and I pay a guy to shoot my horses now.
Well, talk just a second about what does the horsepower look like for you? What does it take to win a gold buckle? Is that one horse all year, every rodeo? Or?
Absolutely not. We've got different horses that are set up that are good for different setups, and we're going to 80 different rodeos a year. A lot of times, got 4 guys in the truck, so that is a ton of runs to be put on one horse. Not to mention the miles and all that kind of stuff. So at those places I talked to about practicing and stuff earlier, a lot of times we'll have different horses staked out at different places to where, like back when we had Scooter, we could give him 5 days off, kick him out the pasture, let him just chill out while we're running up and down the road. We're getting tired. We're putting miles on the truck and trailer, but we're not putting miles on the horses and their legs. We're taking care of them. So like this summer, we'll have 3 great teams of bulldogging horses. And that doesn't necessarily mean that all 3 teams will be at every rodeo. We'll give guys give horses and the teams weeks off, stuff like that to keep them fresh and feeling good. Because like I said earlier, if they don't feel good, we can't compete good. So we've got to take extra special care of them. People don't realize how well we got to take care of those equine athletes because they're a tremendous part of our success.
I do think too, man, and that's what I would think most people's mentality would be that me and you and Jake jump in the truck and we're all going to enter there bulldogging and we're all going to ride the same horse and we're going to bring us a hazing horse and just take turns hazing for each other. And but man, going back to what you said earlier about the mental capacity, not just to enter and enter correctly and make it work out where you can enter, but to enter in a way and have horses staked in a way where you can be competitive at each one. Man, it's way more than 2 + 2 = 4.
Oh, absolutely. Entering, you need to have that degree or whatever you get to figure that thing out. There's numbers and road maps flying everywhere trying to figure that route out.
So I've heard a lot of rough stock guys talk about their traveling partners and how there's usually one secretary. Is that Tyler in the truck? Or that's you?
Man. Me right now, yeah, you're looking at it. Yeah.
Well, cool, man. Well, I told Tyler and I asked him to come on this deal, and our whole point in this deal is to hopefully, man, there's somebody out there that listens to this that, man, is struggling. They have dreams, they have ambitions of being the next Tyler Waguespack. And at the end of the day, man, all these guys are great, but there's 3 guys that came to our place this weekend to put on a clinic, and we asked them to come here. And it's real easy to look from the outside, and we got them to come because they were all great and been successful in their event. But the bigger thing that when me and Kyle first started talking about this deal is making sure, man, where their faith was. Mm-hmm. And so if you got just a second, I mean, and there again, like I said, this is not a deal to, man, we're not going to break down scripture and biblical theology. But man, just be real. And me and you talked yesterday about how many times, man, church is in the truck. You know, and even being a pastor, a lot of times people might say, well, Matt, this is fixing to be the most unpastoral thing you've ever said. But, man, I get frustrated with church, you know. Man, give me your thoughts on that there, bud.
Kyle Irwin's father-in-law, I said it before, he made one of the biggest statements that kind of just really woke me up. They do a gentleman's breakfast over at Kyle's house. It's every Wednesday morning at 5 a.m. Guys go in there, it's probably 20, 30 guys. They go in there and just read scripture, and it's not just one man talking. They're going to read scripture, and then we're going to talk about it, which I thought was awesome. You know, it's not listening to one guy's point of view or any of that kinds of stuff. It's telling how the scripture speaks to them, and it just passes it right on around. And Mr. Ronnie made a statement one day because I'm sitting there just listening to this, going back and forth, and people making great points and loving all of it. And Ronnie stands up, he said, you know, boys, he said, this is the thing. He said, we are the church. He said, you don't have to be under one roof to declare yourself as being in the church. And I smiled. I said, golly, Mr. Ronnie. I said, you have no idea what that means to me. I said, because I'm sitting here thinking that the greatest church that I've been in is that Ford pickup over there. I said, we got 4 guys in there. I said, we'll be going. And I said, and church isn't an hour long. I said, church is an 8-hour drive. I said, you have no idea how much we can just sit there and break it down and go through all these different points and compare just deals that are going on in our life as to what God's trying to tell us to do with that, or, you know, how to use it in which way, and we've got different guys out there that are making mistakes, you know, that are doing things that we really don't want our buddies to do, you know, and there's different scriptures that bring us back to, you know, forgiving that person, bringing them in with us, and they've had conversation with us like that and just kind of opening them up to different stuff. And so, like I said, Mr. Ronnie saying that, you know, we are the church was incredible to me because, like I say, I've been to several tons of cowboy churches, love them out there on the road. Every one of them's different. Every one of them's unique. But at the same sense, we're carrying that church with us 24/7 and not just, you know, 1 hour a day on Sunday. And I mean, it always has stuck with me.
Right. Well, what did that look like? Did you guys grow up in church, or is that did your faith start later in life? Would you say?
Growing up, well, down in South Louisiana, we all grew up Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom, she'd probably be mad me saying it right now. My mom does not like to go to church. She doesn't, because my mom goes out. She likes to, you know, drink her beer and all that kinds of stuff. And she's one of the nicest people you ever meet. And whenever my mom was growing up, she would go and see all the same people Saturday night, messing up, doing all this crazy stuff, and then frowning upon everybody that's not in church on Sunday. And Mom, she always says, I don't like being around a bunch of hypocrites. And not saying anything bad about those people, just saying that, you know what, if I'm going to have my faith, I don't want it to be locked in an assembly line like those folks are trying to do. But my mom right now in my family is the first person, if anybody's having any problems or anything like that, they will go to her. And I know you read the book probably good as anybody, and I'll match her against you. She can come out with every single one of them, and, you know, all the different saints and what they look to them for and all kinds of stuff like that. It just amazes me. But my mom, and that's why I appreciate how Mr. Ronnie Dewey said, as far as we are the church, because whenever I was younger, I was always worried. I was like, Mom, you know, you're sending me I would go to, they call it catechism. It was every Wednesday night. We'd go do all the classes, you know, paying attention, doing all this kind of stuff. But it was always me. Mom dropped me off. I've got to go to that. Later on in life, now I've realized, hey, I need to be paying attention because it's making so much more sense to me now. And I'm thankful for hearing all of it whenever I was growing up. But I was always like, man, Mom, you're not going in there. Like, what's going on in your life? And then whenever Mr. Ronnie said that, it was almost like it relieved me of my mother.
Right.
You know, And it made me feel so much better about it, because then I was like, oh yes, she does have her ducks in a row,
She just,
type deal. Yeah, she got it just a different way. She is the church.
right. No, that is awesome. Well, let me ask you this: how important do you think that is in your life? As busy as you are, as gone as you are. I mean, could you foresee yourself going out and doing what you're doing without a faith in Jesus?
No, absolutely not. And that's why I always say it's like it's a goal to work for. I had a lady pull up at my house. This was, I think, Thursday or Friday, or no, it was either Wednesday or Thursday this week. Pulled up 9 a.m. and she pulls up. She's got a little pamphlet. I've got it on the counter in the house, and she just pulls up. Hey, would you like to take a little minute with me and talk about Jesus Christ? Absolutely. I said, let's go. She said, all right. She said, well, how do you feel like your faith is? I said, I feel like my faith will never be on the level that I need it to be on. But I said, I'm glad you're here to help me. I said, I want to listen to whatever you have to tell me. And it's just like I said, if you want to set a goal, always push yourself to be better. So whenever that lady came, my whole day was better. Here we are on a Wednesday, church is on Sunday. Mm-hmm. This lady showed up at my house, and I was like, oh, absolutely. We are the church. Let's talk about it. And I was game on. I love scrolling through my phone on Facebook now. There's several guys on there. It's Bible trivia. Love it. I'll stop everybody. Like all my buddies, Jacob Talley's huge on all the different stuff Bible. Every time I scroll through it, we'll be in the truck, and I'll say, hey, look here. We'll press play, and we're trying to figure out if we can get it right before it goes through. And the things that we don't get, we go back and read up on it.
Right.
If that question comes back again, we're ready to go. So I always want to progress. And like I told the lady, I said, ma'am, I can tell you right now, I'm not where I want to be. I said, I know where I want to be is way up there. I said, and I got to do whatever it takes to get there. And I said, I feel great that you're here and you're making my day better because you're bringing me closer to the Lord.
Right.
My favorite interview that I've ever had in my life was this year at the National Finals. It was after they gave the gold buckles out. I'm walking up on stage, and this lady, I didn't even answer the question. She asked me this big old question about, I had my purple shirt on, supposed to be my lucky shirt, and all this, that, and other. And I'm still at all over the round. If for guys that watched the 10th go round this year, they had big deals about 5 different bulldoggers this year. I wasn't even in there. Nobody even considered me winning the world. There was so many things that had to happen in order. One guy had to break the barrier. One guy had to miss the steer. I had to finish so high in the round. There were so many variables that if one of them fell out of place, I couldn't win it. So I wasn't even considering myself. Well, it goes through, and as the day goes, everything just falls right into place. And I fall in this little slot. I wound up winning the world by a little less than $2,000, like incredibly close. And it never could have played out like that. And they're sitting there, and everybody in the back sitting there going, man, what are you going to say? Where they ask you these questions? They give us the question beforehand to walk up so we're not just looking goofy whenever we walk up there. And everybody's, man, what are you going to say? What are you going to say? What are you going to say? And I said, I'm not answering the question. I said, I know the man. I got to think about this. They go up on stage, and she's, oh, man, this purple shirt, brought you all this luck, this, that, and other. And I told her, there's nobody that I can think other than our Lord Jesus Christ. There's nobody that could have made this day play out the way that it did. And whenever you get that warm feeling and everything, and you just feel the presence and all that kind of stuff, it's happened to me maybe 4 or 5 times in my life, and I can tell you where I was, what time, and everything whenever that happens. But it's whenever you say there is something there with you. You know what I mean? There's no way it wasn't that.
And this might sound crazy too, but there again, this almost sounds a little creepy, stalky, but I remember when they zoomed in on you, there was about 2 runs left to go. Mm-hmm. And I remember the look on your face. And
Mm-hmm.
I can see it in my mind right now. And there again, not knowing, but thinking about what you just told me and
Mm-hmm.
knowing then, like I and you might not have known it, but like there was just something, hey, Tyler's fixing to pull this deal out.
Everybody says that we don't know why God does the things that he does, but it's always for a reason. There's nothing else that could have described that moment.
Right.
There's absolutely nothing else than that was in someone else's hands that was taking care of that for me. It was unreal.
Right. Well, man, that is so cool. And I want to be respectful of your time and not drag this deal out. But, man, I am so, so thankful. I'm thankful that I got to put men like you in my son's life. I'm thankful to have opportunity to have a place that I can allow you to be in front of all these other kids' lives. And I thank you for being the man you're being. And I don't know how else to end this, but if it's okay with you, just to pray over you and man, your family and what you got going on. And I know this beyond a shadow of doubt. Man, the Bible says that God will give us the desires of our heart. And I know beyond a shadow of doubt that God blesses our obedience. And I just thank you for being obedient. Man, you have been a blessing to me and my family, and I just appreciate you, man.
Well, we love you all, and thank you very much for always having us.
All right. Well, let me pray for us, and we'll close this deal out. Father, I just come to you, Lord. I thank you so much for Tyler. God, I just lift him and his family up to you. God, I pray that you would bless them, man, in abundance. God, I pray that you would knit them together tighter than they've ever been. And God, I pray that all and everything that Tyler does is honoring and glorifying to you. Father, we love you and we praise you. And I ask these things in most precious name. Amen. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you always remember what Hebrews 10:24 says. It says, let us consider how we can spur one another along with love. And I hope you have been spurred on. I hope you've been encouraged. And Tyler, what about just if people want to follow you, they don't know of you, never heard of you? Are you on social media?
Tyler Waguespack, professional steer wrestler on Facebook or Instagram. The both of them should pop up. I mean, I've got the trickiest last name in the world, so as soon as you get WAG put in there, I should pop up there. So either one of those, click or like my page. Put up all kinds of different stuff, whether it's runs at the rodeo or just kind of the day-to-day stuff that we're doing out there on the road. So, I mean, if you'd like to follow along and check it out, be my guest.
All right, well, cool. Well, thank you so much, Tyler. Man, I hope you have an awesome day and you'll have a safe trip home.
Thanks for having me.